Hello everybody, Dokkan Assets here. Today we are back with another Dragon Ball figure unboxing video, and I am actually super excited for today's video because we're going to be taking a look at a character that I have no figures of, and there is actually only one full-sized figure of this character, which is this one that exists, and that is the Super Dragon Ball Heroes Chronoa. So let's go ahead and actually get her out of the packaging here. I did need to import this figure from Japan because this was a Ichiban Kuji set that we unfortunately did not get overseas, but I mean, it makes sense because we never get the SDBH Kujis, excuse me. I literally do not know the word that just came out of my mouth. But when it comes to these type of things here in the West, because SDBH isn't as popular, we usually don't get this type of thing. So you have to import it, and I actually use the website Bai, which I talked about in the last video where I imported a figure from, and I was able to comp her for around, I believe, like $20-ish, I think was the end. As you can see, the seller was Book Off, which is actually a store that is here in America that does sell Japanese goods and whatnot like this type of thing. So that is pretty cool. But this is the box for the figure. Now this is prize F from the Super Dragon Ball Heroes Kuji that included the Masked Rose. I'm sure most of you are probably familiar with that. I do have Masked Rose and the Vegito from that set, which we'll be comparing this guy to Vegito. And as well, I do want to get the Goku from that set at some point. But today we have your girl Chronoa, and I am very excited for this. Not only is Chronoa obviously a huge player in SDBH, with, of course, you know, the whole thing being that it's the Time Patrol going on, all these different missions and stuff like that. It's pretty cool that we actually got a figure of Chronoa. And, of course, she is a huge player in Dragon Ball Xenoverse as well. So if you're familiar with Xenoverse, of course, you would know Chronoa pretty well. So I'm excited for this figure. It is definitely going to be pretty small. I'm sure you can tell by the packaging, right? Obviously, it is fairly small compared to a normal Ichiban Kuji figure packaging. So let's go ahead and crack into it. It is sealed, which is nice. I did actually get it, you know, like perfectly brand new. It's not a used figure, or it's not a figure that's been out of the packaging before. So that is pretty cool. Usually when you buy off of Book Off, specifically on Bai, most of their stuff is like brand new, which is pretty neat. So it's cool. I mean, obviously, like, you know, I wouldn't really mind if the figure was already like taken out of the box before, just to either check the quality or just because, you know, it was like in somebody's collection or something like that. Let me actually get the little tab here while I'm talking. But obviously, having it brand new right out of the box is always a little bit fun because then, you know, you get to ensure that it is, of course, of the utmost quality because, you know, of course, it hasn't been out of the box yet. All right, let's go ahead and pull her out here. Bada boom. This is going to be, oh, yeah, super small. Oh, look at her hands are peeking out there. That's kind of funny. Let's go ahead and put the box to the side, and we will go ahead and release her from her cardboard prison. I gotta say, this is one of the best looking SDBH figures that I think we've gotten to date. It's really cool because obviously a lot of the time we get all these Saiyan characters, but it's nice when we get once in a while the more unique character, you know, that is either like a one-off SDBH character or obviously, you know, somebody who's not a Saiyan character. And of course, we have that today with Chronoa. This is such a small package. Holy cow, it's literally just the stand and her in there. That's kind of funny. Alright, so let's take a look at her stand. I'm going to be interested to see how she actually does stand up here because since she is such a small figure and she has very small feet as well, she is also, I'm looking for the hole here, she is also wearing heels, right? And usually figures with heels don't tend to stand that great. So we're going to see, here is the little stand. Little clear stand, boy. So cute. Very nice. And let's go ahead and get Chronoa herself out. From even just looking at this in the bag, we're about to look at it, you know, in greater detail in a second here. This figure actually looks very well sculpted. I quite like the face that they have on Chronoa for sure. Let's go ahead and pull her out of her plastic prison. Wow! That looks really good. Holy cow! That looks just like Chronoa. That is awesome. That is really nice. I definitely like the look of that a lot. That's super sick. What? It's like even better than I expected it to be honest with you. Yeah, that's cool. That's definitely very nice. I can feel a little bit of give, interestingly enough. Oh, I guess it is like kind of soft plastic for the edge of the Supreme Kai of Time robe. I was feeling to give it a little bit like here, and I was like, what is that feeling? Yeah, as you can see, right, those shoes, I'm a little bit worried how they're going to stand up. I guess we'll see how good of a job the stand does. But overall, I really like this figure. I think that the sculpt is perfect. Again, her face looks literally just like Chronoa. I think there's like a little flake in her mouth. Do you see that on the camera? Yeah, hold on. I'm thinking that that's just dust. Maybe that is a little bit of something there. I don't know. I'll have to see if I can't pick that out with like a toothpick or something like that. Oh no, I may have got it. No, it's still there. It's like a little crumb. It's almost like she was eating a sandwich and then the crumb is on her face. Well, I'll have to pick that out. They may just be a little bit of a defect on my copy. But regardless, very nice. The Patara earrings look good. Her outfit looks very nice. I think the paint application overall is really good. I love, unfortunately, there is a little bit of a error on mine there. But I love that they use this like gradient, right? Where like these darker purples are towards the bottom and these lighter purples are towards the yellow bit there. I think that is really nice. They do that a little bit on the shoulders, but obviously it's not as much heavy. And you can kind of see it on the front there too. Her hands look really good as well. The only thing that I think I kind of find a little bit strange, I mean, I guess it's sort of like this on the box, but like her hair has these weird lighter sections. Like I feel like how her hair looks at the back here with this color. Sorry about that, my camera decided to come out there. What I was trying to say is that I feel like her hair color is more akin to the color that is present on the back of her hair here, where it's a little bit more of this darker orange rather than this like almost lighter. Kind of reminds me of like orange ice cream or like sherbet or something like that, right? I mean, her whole color scheme is kind of like sherbet, to be honest with you. But you can see like the clear difference in the color here, right, between this section of her hair here and the front part of her hair here, which, you know, I mean, not necessarily a bad thing. And if we grab the box, obviously the front of the box isn't really going to be doing us any favors because we have, you know, all these crazy effects and whatnot here. But if we look at the side, I feel like it's a little bit more like apparent on the actual figure rather than it is on the box, but I don't think it looks too bad, to be honest with you. I think it looks just fine. Now, obviously, as you can see here, she can stand up on her own, which is very nice, but she is extremely wobbly, so you're definitely going to want to chuck the stand on her. It is a little bit difficult because obviously since her feet are so small with these little high heels that we have here, and the stand is so tiny like this, right? It's going to be a little bit difficult finding which foot this goes on. I think from the shape of it, though, it should be this one. Although the weird thing about it then is that, like, as you can see, right, her foot is lifted up if I push it down. So it might take a little bit of finagling for this figure, to be honest with you, unless it is actually the other foot. Again, because of this figure's size, it's a lot harder to tell. Like with other figures, since they're so big, right, you can literally just tell right out the gate, like, oh yeah, this doesn't really fit that well. You can just tell by looking at the shape of it, like, oh, you know, this definitely doesn't go on this foot, and so on and so forth. But that looks good. Her one foot is a little bit off the ground, with the stand being on there, but obviously you would rather her stand up than fall over, so she definitely is a lot more stable now with the stand up. But I think you can tell that compared to when she was standing up straight, she's not as like straight on as she was before, but it's okay. I still like it regardless. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Grabbing our usual size comparisons, we of course have the Ichiban Kuji Gotenks and the WCF Super Saiyan Blue Goku. Obviously, this figure is not very big. We kind of knew that going into this, of course, you know, especially looking at the size of the box. And of course, being able to see this figure next to the rest of the set. She stands at about 6 inches, basically just the 6-inch mark, I would say. On camera, because of the angle, it looks like she's a little bit taller than that. Maybe she is actually a hair taller than that, to be honest with you, but I'd say just about that 6-inch mark, which makes sense. But even so, she will scale pretty well with the rest of the figures in this line, because obviously, even though she's very small, I mean, she is a very small character, right? Like, Chronoa is super short, so it makes sense that this would be the case. All right. So we have a couple of figures to compare her to here. First of all, I wanted to bring this man out real quick. He won't be on the stage for long because he doesn't compare as well. Funny enough, speaking of scale, this figure's scale is definitely not in line with her because this is a older Bam Presto figure. And funny enough, one of the first figures that I ever had in my collection, actually. Please don't mind the dust. It's been on the shelf for a while. We have the Super Saiyan Xeno Goku. Again, this is the DXF one, a fairly old figure. I wanted to just bring it out, though, because this is the only Xeno Goku figure that I have. And he is not only a pretty cool figure, but obviously they're similar in size, even though they're not similar in scale. And it's just cool to see these two next to each other. Obviously, all the Xeno characters are super associated with Chronoa, right? So it makes sense to have Goku be the one to kind of lead the charge in showing off the comparison here. But yeah, that's the boy Goku. Definitely will be very, very nice looking in the Heroes shelf that I have going, because I have so many Heroes figures at this point that I have a whole shelf for it. We do have a figure from the same set. Of course, you know I always like to compare if we have one on hand. He is going to need to be lifted up for the camera a little bit. But we have the Super Saiyan 4 Limit Breaker Xeno Vegito. Very, very cool figure. I absolutely love, love, love this guy. This was actually a Christmas gift from a homie of mine. And it is such a cool figure. Not to mention, compares really well with Chronoa. I do think that Chronoa is maybe a little bit taller than this figure is in comparison to how tall Vegito is. I don't think she's that short. To be fair, though, a lot of the time in Dragon Ball Heroes, you do see these two together when they're flying. And obviously, it's a little bit harder to get the height comparison if they're not both standing on the ground looking at each other. So this may be accurate, but I definitely think that Chronoa has a little bit more height than this comparison. But still, very cool to see these figures together. Again, any Xeno characters together is always awesome to see. And of course, because this is Chronoa and she is the head of the Time Patrol, you know I couldn't go this video without bringing out a Trunks figure. So of course, we have the Ichiban Kuji Super Saiyan God Trunks. This figure is really, really cool. I still like this thing despite thinking that the face is really not that great. It is the only Super Saiyan God Trunks figure that we will probably ever get. It's the only one that we have at the moment, at least in terms of like a full-size figure. But I do think that these two look really good together. Obviously, these are not from the same set, but of course, both being from the Time Patrol, and obviously Trunks being the main man in the Time Patrol that helps out Chronoa with things. Of course, I had to compare these two. And they actually look really great together, I'm not gonna lie. Again, I think Trunks, in terms of scale, is definitely a lot bigger than Chronoa is. However, I think it kind of helps that since his stance is so like squatted down and not as much just like straight up and down. Like if he was standing straight up and down, he would absolutely be towering over Chronoa, right? Like he would be crazy tall. But I feel like the scale looks a little bit more sense to, or makes a little bit more sense like to the naked eye, because obviously you're looking at this with him squatting and your brain isn't kind of like registering how big he would look if he was standing all the way up. So I think these two look really great together. I'm absolutely going to display these two on the shelf 100% because I think this is absolutely a great pair. And what a perfect figure to sort of round out a SDBH collection as well. You know, because again, right, like she's the head of the Time Patrol. You know, all of the SDBH events are basically influenced by her. So, of course, you got to have a figure of her. But thank you guys so much for watching today. I really, really appreciate it. If you would like to cop this figure for yourself, again, unfortunately, you will have to import it. It isn't that expensive, though. Like I said, I only got it for 20 bucks at auction. And obviously, that didn't include the shipping cost, but I did show that on the screen earlier in the video. But this figure is not that expensive. I mean, it's a character that isn't really like too crazy popular in terms of especially getting a figure for her. So it's honestly not that bad if you wanted to cop her and try and, you know, import her or even just probably get her off of eBay. I'd have to imagine she's not too expensive, at least definitely not as expensive as some of the other SDBH figures. But she's definitely a great choice. And if you're a fan of Xenoverse as well, obviously this is definitely a good pickup for you because, of course, you know, Chronoa's like the main player in Dragon Ball Xenoverse and Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. So, you know, of course, a good figure for that as well. But if you guys would like to support me opening up more SDBH figures and of course more Dragon Ball figures in the future, you can do so over on the Patreon. The Patreon is exclusively for this channel to support the figure unboxing shenanigans. So if you guys support me over there, thank you so much for that. I really, really appreciate it. But of course, I value you guys watching these videos a ton, so thank you so much for all of your support. I really like this figure. Definitely a awesome addition to my collection, and I cannot wait to get some more SDBH figures. I am getting the Limit Breaker Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta that just came out recently, so look forward to that unboxing. That may actually be next week's video too, so that will be pretty cool. But without further ado, thank you guys so much for watching. I will catch you in the next one. Dokkan out. Peace.